Hello, folks. How are we doing today? Today, I do believe is the you can't see with the thing up. I think it's the 13th. Maybe it's the 14th. Day of November 2025. It is bright and early down here in Tampa, Florida. It's a nice day down here in Tampa. Um, I don't know why I chose this to start it off. I guess. It's one of the two things I've made with Chat GPT, and I will never make anything else with Chat GPT because I prefer my awful uh, Microsoft Paint fucking memes and this slick ass shit, this empty, hollow, slick ass shit. I prefer my awful MS Paint fucking memes because they have heart, they have soul. I have to sweat for them, not just type in some bullshit and say, okay, you do it. Oh, wow, look at that. That's awesome. Speaking of which, don't be putting any more fucking copy and paste AI answers in my AI statements in my fucking YouTube comment sections. Thank you very much. I'd prefer that you give me your hackneyed fucking opinion, just like I prefer my hackney fucking MS Paint memes. It is the 13th. I was correct. I was kind of correct because I said the 13th or the 14th. This could be kind of different. Someone sent me this. I appreciate this with some coffee. Thank you very, very much. And I hope that you like what I finally chose to do with it. I have a notebook now. It's a red notebook. Chatting this weekend with various people. And then some people didn't like my take on what was happening with. I thought I should be more in line with the Rachel Maddows and the fucking CNNs and the MSNBCs and the Kyle Kalinskis and the Parker's permaculture, and I should have been more in. I should have been more focused on seeing if I could get my followers to call up the Senate and say, no, keep the thing going, keep people out of work, keep kids without getting food. That's just not me. And then I had other discussions about other things. However, I came to a conclusion after having a nice conversation yesterday with a young person and talking with Aunt BB yesterday evening. I said in jest, talking to the young college age person, it occurred to me that I have a lot of information just doing nothing. And yeah, there's archives and there's stuff like that people can go and look up, but it's not really doing much for anybody sitting either before it's news or in my archives, which are, this is 2007, which are expansive. So, what I decided to do, I think, and this is a kind of a floating the idea out there. I told Aunt BB, just in jest, I should be teaching a college course on conspiracy theories. And that if I did, at least that way, some of this information is passed on to other people in a useful, meaningful way. If to do nothing else, to potentially light a fire in some people, maybe one a fucking lesson. Maybe one a month. Maybe one period. But as Jessica taught me a long, long time ago, you'd be surprised what lighting a fire under one person can do. You get the right pebble at the top of that snowy hill, and who knows what's going to end up in the valley. So, I've decided I'm not going to be hired by a fucking university to do this, to teach this. These courses, not even a course, and not even teaching. Prosecuting. If I have to choose a word, I choose prosecuting. I'm not going to be hired by a university to go and do this. And writing a fucking self-published book, copying and pasting all the fucking stuff that I've written before on all these various topics into a collection, and then put the self-published book out there. Maybe 12 people buy it, maybe 3 actually read it. I think I'm better as a writer, but I think I reach more people like this. So here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I am proposing with my new red notebook. I am proposing a series of live streams, 10 to start with, and maybe 1/11th to wrap it up. And it might continue. If I'm sure there's going to be questions. I hope there's going to be questions. I hope people are going to show up. Even if they don't, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to do it with 1 person watching or with 0 people watching, just like I would with, that's hope of hope, 12 people watching. Because then it was going to be in a topic on my YouTube channel called Conspiracy Realism 101. And that is what I am going to do. And right now, I believe I will be doing it every Tuesday. I just changed that from Monday in my head. Tuesday. For the next 10 or so weeks. Why, you say? Why conspiracy realism? Because I've decided I'm a conspiracy realist. Gore Vidal said to someone who called him a conspiracy theorist, he said, "No, my dear son, I am not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy analyst." I call myself a conspiracy realist for similar reasons, because it's a pushback on the stereotypical slur when someone comes up with something, and it's not what the establishment tells them to think of something. They're slurred with the conspiracy theorist label, which does 2 things. One, it's dismissive of that individual and that individual's research. And so other people coming to see it will go, well, he's a conspiracy theorist, and leave him alone, which has happened to me for decades. But 2, the conspiracy theorist label convinces people, when they see enough people left alone and ostracized and unpersoned, that they themselves are not going to go too far to become a conspiracy theorist. And you can see all kinds of examples of that in the alternative media now, certainly in the mainstream media now. So that's how the term conspiracy theorist was used. It was used before JFK's murder, but it was certainly then adopted by vested interests to silence people via those 2 methods. In the wake of JFK's assassination. And that's where it really gained prominence. And it kind of petered out for a while, but then, of course, 9/11. And so here we are. What does conspiracy realist mean? Well, the first thing is it counters that derogatory stigma of the conspiracy theorist. It also, as a conspiracy realist, helps to, make you feel better about being a conspiracy theorist. But the second thing it does my terminology as opposed to Gore Vidal's terminology is, a conspiracy realist focuses on provable, tangible evidence first. And then, once that is locked into place, once that is sifted through, then and only then does the conspiracy realist address circumstantial evidence and, of course, the more exotic potential explanations. That's what a conspiracy realist does, because that's what I've done since the beginning. And there's a reason for that. Let me just go over a couple of pages here of my notes on this Tuesdays. We will start this next Tuesday. I just want to go over some of these notes with you. The first is the genesis, and that is Jessica and Jaden. Jaden's the young person I was talking to yesterday, 20-year-old. I made a joke about talking to my doctor about conspiracy theories, and because I was talking to the doctor before about Medicare Advantage, and Jaden was like, "Oh, I'm into conspiracy theories," and so we had a nice long conversation. And he was there in the office, in the treatment room with me for about 20 minutes before the doctor came in, and we talked about all kinds of things. And he's very aware. Young people, I think, are very aware and very attuned to these things. One of the reasons, I think, COVID. There's some issues with COVID. Clearly. But then, obviously, what was taboo at one time to talk about Zionism, it's not so much anymore. And even the alt-right, who were on board with backing Israel all the fucking time, Israel against those Islamo-fascists, they're starting to realize there's more going on to this shit. You know, they're starting to realize the Israelis and the IDF knew that October the 7th was going to happen before it happened. Why would they let it happen? How do they have enough influence to dictate policy, our foreign policy, from one president to the next president to the next president to the next president, and how come they're never held to account for shit that everyone else is held to account for, i.e. genocide? And, if you know what happened on October the 7th, killing their own people. Didn't we wipe out fucking Gaddafi for killing his own people? Didn't we do the same thing to Assad? Didn't we do the same thing to Iraq? People started to wonder because they're showing themselves. The Great Reset helped expose themselves. And so the young people, I think, are becoming acutely aware, even though there is a steady effort throughout the school systems, either primary or secondary, to teach them not to flex their lateral thinking muscles. That hopefully is what we're going to do with this. So Jessica, Jaden, I just explained to you why he's the genesis of this program. And Jessica, a long time ago, I've told people, I had a discussion with her in 2003. She said, Scott, you should really listen to, because I had some ideas on 9/11. I was talking to my teacher at Hillsborough Community College, and she was a friend of mine. And I just read her the Riot Act, because I thought I knew what the fuck I was talking about, and lost a friend. And so then I sat down and I said, I'm going to prove that these fucking conspiracy theorists are full of shit, and they're doing a huge disservice. So I spent 9 months researching everything, the popular mechanics stuff, the Science Today stuff, every fucking thing I could find. Everybody who was saying, okay, it's this, and this is why the towers fell, and blah, 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 blah. And after 9 months, the light came on. And I realized Jessica was right. But she didn't have a prosecutor's conviction. And so I was able to fluster her, and she didn't like being flustered and didn't like me anymore. And so she'll never know what she started. In late 2004, early 2005, I set out on this path that I'm on now, and here we are in 2025, 2 decades later, and I'm talking to you. All because Jessica broached the subject with a friend of hers. That's the one little pebble that she clicked at the top of that fucking snow-covered mountain. Not that I am a boulder, not that I've done much of anything, but that's how it works. Planting seeds, as Aunt BB would say. Let me just run down what I intend to do here. Let me explain to you what I mean by prosecution. Prosecution, when somebody is going to prosecute a crime, the police discover the crime, and they do an initial investigation and then hand it over to detectives who come in and they gather a bunch of evidence and they figure all this shit out, and then they present all of this stuff to the prosecutor. Everyone has a specific role to fill. The prosecutor must then take the evidence, sift through what is applicable, what is presentable in court, what is real, what is circumstantial, what is physical and tangible, what is less so. So that the prosecutor can then present the strongest possible case against whomever the fucking defendant is. And at the same time, the prosecutor has to believe that the defendant is guilty. The judge and jury make the decisions. The prosecutor doesn't make decisions. The prosecutor has a conviction, which I think some people look at me and they say, Scott's got this conviction. He's a know-it-all. He's got his own. That's not the case. I learned that with Jessica, and that's the foundation for what I do. But in order to come to you or talk to anybody about these things, especially conspiracy theories, you have to have a strong fucking conviction in the accuracy of what you're talking about. Conspiracy realist is the prosecutor and the detective at times, but sometimes the detective is another researcher, but not the judge and jury. Let me address a brief history of some of the subjects I have covered in depth over the years. And these are the ones that I'm going to, these are the 10 commandments, five commandments. These are the 11 subjects I'm going to talk about. There are many others. There are some secondary ones that I think are important that I certainly could be adding on to at the end of this, if anybody pays any attention to it. And even if they don't, fuck them. So here we go. Obviously, the biggest one is 9/11. But again, I've always focused on the evidence and demolition as demolition was proved. And all other elements of the conspiracy then come into play, but not before the physical proof of demolition. Like a murder. Like a murder, you must prove the victim was murdered and then investigate the how, why, and by whom. With Jessica, who set me on this course, I focused on what popular mechanics and others said was the physical cause of the Twin Towers collapsing. And then I saw them repeatedly fucking publishing deliberate disinformation, misrepresenting how the towers were built. So I got official fucking drawings from the towers from when they were constructed, and I saw, why is Popular Mechanics saying this is how they were constructed and they're weak and they're this? It was a tube within a tube, hollow tube within a hollow tube. And then I go and look at the fucking construction drawings and go, oh my God, this thing was overbuilt, which is why it survived being hit, both of them did, by fucking 757-200s, loaded with jet fuel. I've always focused on the physical. And specifically, I mean, I've done other stuff after that, but specifically the demolition of the towers in Building 7. Because I believe, as in any prosecution or in any evaluation of anything, Cheonan, fucking COVID-19, mRNA, Palestine, you must focus on the physical evidence that you have at hand. And then you can get into the other stuff. Then you can get into the circumstantial. Then you can get into the how or why. The things that take speculation, the things that take writing, things that take people and what they say prior to it or after it. All of that can factor in, as well as exotic theories. You can certainly look into them, but you have to start grounded. You have to build on a foundation as a conspiracy realist. So 9/11 is one of them. I'm going to run through these really quickly, and they will probably change, and they'll certainly change. And I'm not going to start with 9/11. I'm going to end with 9/11. Well, I'm going to end with 9/11 in Palestine. But we'll go through this. The Cheonan, the sinking of the Cheonan. I did a bunch of work on that. It was amazing. Not my work, but what they did was amazing. They took an accident that they caused. Again, they caused, like MH370, in the same neighborhood, kind of. But again, an accident they caused, and they tried to spin it to use to their advantage. You never let a good crisis go to waste. So, Cheonan, MH370, Ukraine. From the color revolution in 2014, or started in 2013, to the current miserable state, neoliberalized state that it is. Moving right into number 5, neoliberal globalization, which leads right into number 6, the Great Reset, and the World Economic Forum, which leads right into the origins of COVID-19. Remember, Klaus Schwab's book, The Great Reset, COVID-19. Not a coincidence, folks. Which leads right into mRNA vaccines, which does not lead into election rigging in America from Box 13 to electronic voting machines. Then the 10th one on this list is American Gladio, and the 11th one on this list, Palestine and Israel. You could teach master courses, and people do, for years and years on that conflict. There's so much to it. I can't do that. I can't focus on that because I don't have that kind of education. But people I cite in my references will. However, I'm going to focus from when I became really in tune to it, about 2003 onwards, so many years before Operation Cast Lead, but that's what's going to happen from there to where we are now. And so basically from Cast Lead to Gaza 2035 and Great Trust Plan. Other potential subjects we could talk on or touch on is the Great War in the Heavens. That's the multipolar versus unipolar conflict that's taking place now. Color revolutions. CIA overthrowing 70 countries since World War II with the State Department and the National Endowment for Democracy, which was created because in the 70s they said stop overthrowing countries to the CIA, and they said, okay, we'll stop. And what they did was they created the National Endowment for Democracy, and they continued. The one-party state, the business party, i.e., the 1971 Lewis Powell Memo, cast Sunstein in cognitive infiltration of dissident and resistance movements. Journalism, our combined great history and bleak future, from yellow journalism to current for-profit influencers. And of course, I put this on, I've added the subject, so now I'm going to have 11 subjects. I might take one of them off. I might take off Cheonan, but Cheonan was a fascinating story with Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama trying to start a war because we blew up a South Korean fucking, it wasn't a cruiser, it was some smaller boat. Listen, okay, so that's the topics, and there's some others in there, and there's a ton of. I've been doing this stuff 20 years. There's a ton of other stuff. If you guys have any suggestions, any requests, please let me know. Okay, here's the deal. The idea of this whole thing is very simple. 5 points. Tuesday evenings now, live stream as long as the subject takes. So some will be, Cheonan will be shorter, Palestine will be longer. Questions are welcome, but only addressed at the end of prepared statements, because I'm not going to be reading the chat log while trying to stay focused on what I prepare over the weekend to do this. There's going to be no paywall, no donations needed to ask a question. Moderators, because I'm not even fucking monetized on YouTube anyway. These will be on YouTube. But then the recordings will go to BitChute. Moderators will manage the chat if anyone shows up, which is questionable, and ask questions that they note during the prepared statements, which means people will ask questions in the comment section, and the ones that the moderators feel are legitimate, not, why are you such a dick, Scott? That's not a question that's going to be asked. It might be asked by the commenters, but it's not going to be answered by Scott, because Scott is a dick, because genetics. There you go. Questions about other theories are welcome. Question about other theories are welcome. What is not is spamming links to idiotic fucking websites that are substantially less supported, like such as mini nukes and holograms. You ask a question in earnest, and it will be discussed in kind. I've always done that. I always feel like that. If for some reason that you think directed energy weapons brought down the Twin Towers because there's pitting and paint and cars around there, and you want to have a discussion about it, or at least ask me about it, and I'll be able to respond to it, I will be glad to. If you want to ask about the scholars for 9/11 Truth and the contributions they all made to the 9/11 Truth movement, which was growing in size and popularity, and causing great concern to people. But if you want to have a conversation about that, I'd be glad to mention, not a conversation. If you want to ask a question about that, I'll be glad to address it. And, at that point in the Q&A session, whoever asks the question can do follow-up in the comments, as long as it's, you don't use the N word or the F word or, the C word or whatever, then that's fine. This is not about, let me make this clear. I do not believe, I'm going to call myself a prosecutor again, even though I'm not, but to prosecute my point of view, to prosecute these conclusions that I've come to. And I think I've written down some of this stuff here. And I'll just read it here. Let me just read this, and then I'll finish up this quickly. It's been brought to my attention that I am a know-it-all. I am not. Or I come across as a know-it-all, but I'm not. But like a prosecutor, I have to present my case from a position of confidence in my investigation and my conclusions. Yeah, I have to. I have to believe it myself. When I came to the conclusions that I came to that got me sued alongside Alex Jones and other people and the guy from fucking Gateway Pundit and all these people, during the deposition down here for 8 fucking hours, it became clear to me that they really weren't focusing on my previous fucking writing stuff. They wanted to know what I thought about the fucking case. And I told him straight up, it's not defamation, because I believed it 100% then, as I do now. And I told the fucking vice president, one of the vice presidents from O'Malveny, a guy who made more just to come down and depose me than I made the whole previous year. He was a nice guy. I told him. I said, you give me 3 hours and you'll agree with me. I know it for a fact. And if I was allowed to defend myself the way I need to defend myself, which is by proving that individual did what I said he did, then I would get off scot-free and I could beat you. I could beat O'Malveny. But the judge won't let me do that. Why? That's not arrogance. I don't say anything. I don't cover any of this shit. Ever. Without believing it. And I don't come to that belief flippantly. If that reads as arrogance, if that reads as pig-headedness, if that reads as being a know-it-all, then that's on me for my presentation. But don't misconstrue it. I'm not some asshole running around because I'm an atheist telling fucking people of faith that they're stupid. That's not me. The prosecutor cannot walk into court to prosecute his case if he doesn't fucking believe it 100%. Now, it happens. People get railroaded, but that's not the prosecutor I'm talking about. That air of confidence in their conviction is important to the jury. If the jury looks at him and he's wishy-washy and maybe it is and maybe it isn't, and there could be fucking ray beams from space, the jury's going to, oh, fuck you. No, he's innocent. Let him go. And out he goes to kill somebody else or to harm somebody else or to commit another genocide. Mr. Netanyahu, do you understand? That's my position. That's always been my position. And my position has always been, because of how I started, because of Jessica and looking into the physics of it, because I'm an architectural draftsman and designer and a project manager back then, and because I was a builder before, that was always the nuts and bolts. It's always the tactile. What can you put your hands on? It's been brought to my attention that I am rigid, closed-minded, and not open to other possibilities. Guilty. But again, there's a difference between being steadfast in your convictions and being wishy-washy. You can't convict anyone. You can't convince anyone. You can't light a fire. Jessica, though she wasn't as knowledgeable as she could have been, she was convinced. And that's why I had to look into it the way I did. If everything is possible, then nothing is probable. And if everything is possible, nothing is provable. Does that make sense? It's one thing to have an open mind. It's another thing to be gullible. And a gullible man can't prosecute a damn thing. He couldn't prosecute a fucking ham sandwich. Conspiracy realism is not going to solve the world's problems. The intention of this is to teach lateral thinking skills to the young and old alike, and that includes me. My hope is to light a fire like Jessica did, and my dream is that it'll rekindle one in me. And that really is about as straightforward as I can be about it. I've got those topics. If there's something in my past that you want to have a discussion about, criminal history, no, not that past. If there's something that I have covered, written about, done videos on in the past, you want to talk about, you think it can be added to that list, please do add it. I know I have a tendency to overpromise and underprovide. Is that it? Underproduce. That's not going to happen with this. Tuesday nights, I'm thinking 7, but again, that's up in the air. It'll probably have to do more with the people who might be moderating if they choose to help. And you two know who you are. I don't expect a lot of people to attend live. I would hope that people look into them as they are archived on my YouTube channel, my website, and my BitChute channel, and maybe even my Substack. That's where I am with that. I just talking with Jaden. It was nice talking to him, listening to him, hearing what he knows as a 20-year-old person. As a 20-year-old guy, he knows more than I knew when I was getting started. A lot more. He knew a lot more than 20 years ago when I was 39. Having that conversation, was it 20 years? It's more than 20 years. Having that conversation, it's 2003. So 22 years. So I've been 37. He knows as a 20-year-old more than I knew when I was 27. And that's a fact. And that's hopeful. We can't let critical thinking skills, we can't let lateral thinking abilities, we can't let young people be convinced by work, by the establishment, by going along to get along, by doing everything they can to avoid a stigma for having the wrong thinking, the wrong ideas, the wrong answers. We can't let that happen. We can't let that continue. Because those are the kinds of people that make a difference in this world. Now, I haven't, but maybe that little pebble that Jessica kicked off the fucking top of that snow-covered mountain hasn't reached the fucking valley yet. Maybe this is this is the best way that I can think of to take this information that I have, that I've studied, that I've learned, that I've stumbled over and sweated over and cussed about and taken a lot of heat from and been put on fucking blacklists for. Maybe this is the best way that I can pay back what I have. Because, to be honest, just being a fucking disabled fucking former carpenter and draftsman and project manager, I live a lot better than I could. There are a lot of people out there on the streets today who probably have a more extensive and better fucking background and college degrees. So, in my opinion, I still have debts owed. So, without being melodramatic or whatever, this is just, I think, a good little project for me to sink my teeth into. And hopefully it'll work out. And you'll get some information to think about something. And again, this is what I wanted to say earlier, and we'll leave it at that. This is not the end-all, be-all. I on the subjects that I covered after and researched, I am firmly convinced in the rightness of my position. and my conclusions, as should anybody be. You know, even someone just coming at it with just formulating their own opinions to talk to themselves or to the voices in their head about, much less going online and talking about this stuff in multiple different fucking venues, trying to convince people. That's natural. That's what we do. I'm prosecuting these fucking cases as to the best of my ability. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you it is the only possibility, it is the end-all, be-all in terms of these investigations. Did Oswald fucking kill fucking Kennedy from the 6th floor of the book depository building with 3 fucking shots from a bullshit fucking rifle? No, he did not. He was down on the 2nd floor, the 3rd floor, in the fucking break room, and once he realized what happened, he put 2 and 2 together, and he decided to take a fucking powder. That's what happened. Is it possible ray beams from space killed JFK? Possible, if you want to believe it. Is it possible that there's aliens were involved? Possible, if you want to believe it. But I don't. If that makes me hard-headed, if that makes me a fucking prick, then that makes me hard-headed and a prick. But the evidence is behind what I say and not behind what everybody else says. However, that's not what I'm here to do. What I'm here to do is present my case like it was presented to me, like Jessica presented a case to me, to light a fire, to get people thinking, to get people using those lateral fucking thinking skills, to get people to break out of what they are, the prison that they're expected to fucking live in. Everything we say, you're going to have to repeat it, especially now. Especially now. You get AI, you get fucking, they're constantly surveilling you, they're constantly looking at what you're thinking, they want to know exactly what you're thinking, total information awareness, Palantir. They want to be able to control everything to the point where they will turn you off. Your chip, as Aaron Russo once talked about. The next generation, after all of this stuff, from COVID to Gaza, even 9/11, the next generation is the real hope. And it is incumbent on us to present what we know and let them take it from there. Right or wrong, the baton is passed. And they're our hope. And I can't leave them money. I can't leave them fucking resources. This is what I can leave them. And hopefully it'll be worth it. Anyway, that's what I'm going to do Tuesday evenings, probably 7, starting this coming Tuesday. And as of right now, it'll be... I might roll Chionin, and because they seem to work so well together, I might roll Chionin in with... I might roll Chionin in with MH370. That whole, we'll call that the pivot to Asia. Maybe we'll do that. We'll start with that on Tuesday, unless somebody wants to come out and do one of the big ones. I hate to say both the big ones, American Gladiator. I hate to say both the big ones, Palestine and 9/11 for the end. But 9/11, I did a comprehensive thing of my best evidence on 9/11 video about 4 weeks ago. It was September 11th in that area. So I'm going to save that for one of the last ones. But I want to save those for last because I think maybe I'll have built up an audience of 10 or, God forbid, cross my fingers, 12 people by then. But that's my thinking at this point. That's my thinking. That's where I'm at. And Haley, that's what I'm doing with your red notebook. Thank you very much. I'm getting whacked on really strong, really good coffee, and scribbling furiously in the red notebook. Anyway, I want to thank you for your time. Have a good Thursday, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.